If you're a homeowner in Homestead, Florida, you probably think you know all the challenges, right? You're ready for the heat, you've got a plan for hurricanes, but what if I told you some of the biggest threats to your home are completely invisible? Yeah, they're hiding inside your walls and deep beneath your foundation. So let's dive into this explainer and uncover the hidden plumbing dangers you need to know about.
Think about it. Is your home trying to tell you something? You know that weird gurgling sound the toilet makes, or that water bill that suddenly seems way too high? It's so easy to just brush those things off as, house quirks. But they could actually be clues to a much bigger and way more expensive secret that's lurking in your plumbing.
Okay, so these are the classic symptoms, and I bet you've noticed at least one of them before. An unusually high water bill? That's not just a budget problem. It could mean you have a leak somewhere you can't see. Those gurgling toilets and smelly drains? That's a huge red flag for a blockage. And wet spots in the yard or stains on the ceiling? Come on, that's your house practically screaming for help. Ignoring these is like putting a piece of tape over your car's check engine light. It's not going to end well.
So to really get why these problems are so darn common in Homestead, we have to look down, like literally under your house. The real culprits here are what I call your home's invisible enemies, the very ground it's built on and the subtropical climate it has to deal with day in and day out. Let's start with the foundation of South Florida itself. Your house is sitting on top of porous limestone. Now don't think of it as solid rock, it's really more like a giant hard sponge. This means water is always present and always moving around underground, which creates a really tough environment for anything buried in it, especially your pipes.
And that limestone sponge leads directly to our next problem, a super high water table. The natural level of groundwater here is incredibly close to the surface, sometimes just a few feet down. This puts constant, unseen pressure on all your underground sewer and water lines. We're talking 24/7 stress.
And if that wasn't enough, let's throw our famous climate into the mix. On top of all the ground issues, you've got South Florida's relentless weather. That sticky humidity, it's a recipe for rust. The heavy seasonal rains, they can totally overwhelm drainage systems. And of course, intense heat and the threat of hurricanes just add more and more layers of stress. It's truly a perfect storm of environmental challenges for your plumbing. So what happens when you combine that unique geology with that intense climate? Well, you get a very specific set of plumbing nightmares. Let's break down the four most common, usual suspects that homestead homeowners are constantly fighting.
First up, we've got a problem that starts with the water itself, limestone scale buildup. Remember that porous limestone we talked about? Well, it leaches minerals, mostly calcium, straight into the water supply. This is what we call hard water, and it's a real pain. You should think of this mineral buildup just like cholesterol in your body's arteries. It slowly but surely chokes off the flow of water, giving you lousy water pressure. It also wrecks your faucets and shower heads and makes your water heater work way, way harder, which shortens its lifespan and costs you a ton of money on your energy bill.
Nightmare number 2 is one of the sneakiest and most destructive problems out there, the slab leak. This is a leak in a water line that's buried underneath the concrete foundation or the slab of your home. The constant pressure and shifting soil we mentioned earlier, that's what causes it.
And because these leaks are hidden, you have to turn into a detective. Do you feel any weirdly warm spots on the floor? That could be a hot water line leaking. Is your water bill suddenly through the roof for no good reason? These are huge telltale signs that water is escaping where you can't see it, slowly washing away the dirt that supports your entire home. It can cause catastrophic damage if you don't catch it.
Okay, our third plumbing villain is a powerful force of nature, root intrusion. You know all those beautiful trees and lush landscaping that make South Florida so gorgeous? Well, they're thirsty, and your sewer line is a prime target for them to find a drink.
Roots are surprisingly strong. They can wiggle into the tiniest little crack in a sewer pipe. And once they're inside, they've hit the jackpot, a constant source of water and nutrients. They'll grow into this thick, nasty, pipe-clogging mess. And if you let it go, they can completely shatter the pipe, which, trust me, leads to a backup you do not want to deal with.
And finally, we have a problem that's lurking in a lot of Homestead's older homes, corroded galvanized pipes. If your house was built a few decades ago, there's a good chance it still has these original steel pipes. Here's the big difference you need to know. Galvanized pipes corrode from the inside out. Over the years, that rust and corrosion builds up, choking off the water flow and sometimes even turning your water a brownish color. Yuck! Modern materials like copper and PEX, however, are built to resist all that. That's why upgrading, or what plumbers call repiping, is often the only real permanent fix. Okay, so we've laid out all the problems. It's a little scary, I know. But how do you solve a mystery you can't even see? This is where a professional diagnostic process is absolutely crucial. It's all about finding the real cause of the problem, not just slapping a patch on the symptom.
Any professional service call should follow a clear, logical path, something like this. It starts with your call, then they do a thorough inspection to find out what's really going on. Then you get a clear, upfront estimate before they start any work. And finally, they test everything and clean up. No surprises, no hidden fees. That's how it should be.
So how do modern plumbers find the problem without just guessing? Well, instead of tearing up your floors or digging up your whole yard, they use these amazing waterproof fiber optic cameras. These things let them literally see inside your pipes to find the exact location of a crack or a root blockage or a total collapse. This tech saves an insane amount of time, money, and mess. It's a total game changer.
Now let's clear up something that confuses a lot of homeowners: permits. Look, any major work, like replacing a water heater, repiping your house, or fixing a sewer line, absolutely requires a permit from Miami-Dade County. This isn't just red tape, okay? It's there to make sure the work is done safely and up to code, which protects you and your home's value. On the other hand, smaller stuff like fixing a faucet or clearing a drain, you typically don't need a permit for that.
We have covered a lot of ground, from what's under your house to what's inside your walls. So let's wrap this up by talking about what you can actually do to protect what is probably your biggest investment, your home. It really all comes down to a few key takeaways.
Here it is, your proactive plumbing checklist. Number 1, understand the risks of living on limestone with a high water table. Just knowing is half the battle. Number 2, never ever ignore those warning signs we talked about. 3, get a professional to come out and do a checkup every 18 to 24 months. It'll catch problems when they're small. 4, always, and I mean always, demand licensed, insured pros who follow the building code. And finally, seriously consider getting a water softener to fight back against that damaging mineral buildup.
And that brings us to one last, really important question I want you to ask yourself. Just because water comes out when you turn on the faucet, that doesn't mean your system is healthy. So think about it. Is your home's plumbing just kind of working for now, or is it truly safe and secure for the long haul?